Welcome you, and welcome back to our deep dive.
Hello, everyone.
Today we're doing something a bit different, focusing intensely on one specific source. We're going step by step through session 24 of the Law of One material.
That's right. It's a session from February 1981, channeled from the entity known as Ra, and it really gets into some fascinating history, doesn't it? Contacts, influences.
Absolutely. It touches on historical contacts, why some groups pulled back, and the sort of push and pull between different forces.
Hmm.
Our aim here is to unpack it question by question, really absorb the wisdom.
And see what insights emerge for you. It's all about exploring this law of wisdom together.
So let's dive right in. The session starts, maybe surprisingly, with a very practical concern.
Yeah, the questioner notes the instrument, Carla, has some congestion. They asked Ra if it's okay to even hold the session.
And Rai's response is pretty clear. They say her vital energies are low, so the session needs to be shorter.
It immediately sets a tone, doesn't it? Shows you the sensitivity, the physical reality underpinning this contact.
Totally. Then the questioner passes on a request from Carla herself.
Right. She asked if Ra could, well, induce coughing at intervals to help clear that congestion.
Which leads to this little clarification back and forth.
Right.
Ra asks, what interval?
And the questioner specifies, okay, after each communication from Ra.
Ra says, yes, that's possible, and then actually does it. Pause, cough.
It's such a small detail, but it like grounds the whole thing. Even in these deep cosmic discussions, there are these very human physical needs.
Definitely. So with that sorted, the questioner lays out a kind of roadmap for upcoming sessions.
Yeah, they want to cover the last 25,000 years cycle, explore what fourth density life might be like.
Which, for you listening, think of that as a state of greater love, understanding, interconnectedness.
Right. And generally dive deeper into the core principles of the Law of One. It's ambitious.
It is. And then they pivot to a big question stemming from earlier talks, the Confederation's interactions back in the day.
Specifically with the Atlanteans, Egyptians, and South Americans. Why did the Confederation contact them, and why did they eventually leave?
And what were the results? What was their attitude after pulling back? It's a key question.
Okay, so Ra's answer about Atlantis is, well, it's heavy. They say the information given was twisted towards bellicosity.
Towards war. And this distortion directly contributed to the second major Atlantean disaster, about 10,821 years ago, according to Ra.
It really hammers home for you how potent information is and how easily even well-meaning help can be misused, leading to catastrophe.
And the consequences Ra describes are huge. Mass displacements, earth changes. They mention nuclear and crystal weapons around 9,600 years ago, sinking land masses.
It's a stark picture. Advanced civilization, but undone by, well, distorted thinking and aggression. It's a warning for you about knowledge and power, isn't it?
For sure. And it wasn't just Atlantis that went wrong.
No, Ross says the experiments in Egypt and South America, though maybe less destructive, also strayed far from the original positive intent.
It seems like direct intervention, giving knowledge, was just inherently tricky for Earth's consciousness at the time. Too much room for misinterpretation.
Exactly. Which led the Confederation and these other groups Ra calls the Council and the Guardians, sort of cosmic overseers, to rethink their whole strategy.
They concluded direct contact wasn't the right approach for Earth then.
Right. Their attitude became much more cautious. Observation, trying to find ways to serve that minimize the chance of their intentions being twisted.
It shows you, I think, that even these highly evolved groups are learning, adapting based on results. It's not like they have all the answers preset.
Yeah. Then there's a request for a cough. Pause, which Ra provides.
And the next question naturally follows. Okay, if they pulled back, what made them re-engage later? What changed?
Ra points to the arrival or increased influence of the Orion group around 3,600 years ago.
The negative polarity group.
Exactly. Ra says they found fertile ground here because there were already distortions, especially this idea some people were special or chosen, elite.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Exploiting divisions, hierarchy, a classic tactic you see throughout history.
And Ra links this back, interestingly, to an earlier Confederation entity, Yahweh.
Ah, yes, the genetic modifications after Mu sank.
Right. Ra suggests those actions, while perhaps not intended maliciously, did create genetic biases, a kind of predisposition that the Orion group could then leverage near Egypt and other places.
So it wasn't like Yahweh wanted bad things to happen, but their actions had unforeseen side effects.
That's how Ra presents it, yeah. It created a vulnerability. The Orion group jumped on that, pushing elitism, control, enslavement, using those existing seeds of division.
It paints a complex picture for you. where intentions and outcomes can diverge, and one group's actions can inadvertently open doors for another with very different goals.
Definitely. And Ra adds that Yahweh, feeling responsible for this mess, started to evolve its own approach.
Trying to correct the distortion.
It seems like it. Around 3,300 years ago, Yahweh began sending positively oriented philosophy subtly. Ra mentions a name meaning he comes, though it's now unnamed.
A shift from direct physical or genetic tinkering to more philosophical guidance.
Exactly. But Ra also states this period marked an intensification of the conflict between positive and negative forces, what we might term Armageddon.
Wow, so these ancient interventions and counter-interventions are potentially deep roots of conflicts we still feel today. Gives you different perspective.
It really does. Then another requested cough from Ra. Pause.
And the questioner asks the obvious follow-up. How did Orion manage to get past the planetary quarantine 3,600 years ago? Was it just luck, a random window?
Ross says, well, not entirely random. There was a proper calling for that negative information.
Meaning enough people on Earth were resonating with or asking for that kind of energy.
Sort of, but it was mixed. Because the planet didn't have a strong, unified positive or negative leaning, then the quarantine, the protective shield, was less focused, less tightly guarded.
Like the signal was fuzzy, so other frequencies could bleed through more easily.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. It wasn't a brute force break-in. It was more that the planet's overall vibrational state created an opening.
Ra explains that as the harvest approaches that evolutionary choice point, the positive forces respond to positive calling, and Orion responds to the negative calling. Free will is key.
If people desire negative information, even if it's a weaker call overall, the window effect allows it through. It really highlights for you the power of collective consciousness.
An individual choice, yeah. Even with cosmic safeguards, what we collectively ask for, consciously or unconsciously, matters.
Crucial point. And Ra gives another cough here. Pause.
Okay, so moving on. The questioner wants to know how these philosophies were transmitted. Was it all just telepathy? Or were there other methods used by both Yahweh and Orion?
Ra outlines two other methods used by Yahweh, the entity trying to correct the earlier distortions.
Okay.
First, actual incarnation and mating. They aim to create larger, maybe more spiritually attuned beings called the Anak. The hope was these beings would naturally embody and spread the law of one.
Whoa, so direct biological intervention again,
Yeah.
but with a different aim this time, seeding the population.
Yeah, it's pretty direct, isn't it? Raises all sorts of questions for you about interference versus guidance.
Definitely. What was the second method?
Thought forms. Ra says this was used later, maybe more effectively, creating powerful mental images or concepts designed to evoke awe, mystery, the sublime.
Like planting ideas in the collective mind. Subtle nudges.
Kind of. Seeds of wonder. Maybe steering people towards questioning and spirituality without direct commands.
Interesting. So the questioner asks for examples, right? After another cough, pause.
Yep. And Ra is a bit coy, saying the questioner can figure it out, but does give hints. The wheel within a wheel, the cherubim with sleepless eye.
Ah, images straight out of Ezekiel and other mystical texts. Powerful stuff that resonates deeply for many of you, I bet.
For sure. And Ra nudging towards self-discovery is also typical, isn't it? Encouraging your own inner work.
So the natural next question. Did the Orion group use similar tricks back then, around 3,600 years ago?
Ra confirms, yes, the Orion Empire had an emissary in Earth's skies at that time.
An emissary, like a ship or...
Ra describes it as being of your fiery nature, and that it was often hidden by clouds during the day.
Fiery. Hidden by clouds.
Yeah.
Why?
To avoid causing outright panic or disbelief, Ra says. And also, crucially, to align with existing human ideas about what the creator or divine power might look like, playing on expectations.
Clever in a manipulative way. Making themselves seem like something familiar, divine even. It's a lesson for you in discernment, isn't it? Look past the appearance.
Definitely. So people see this fiery cloud, then what? How is the actual message delivered?
Ross says it was through thought transfer, direct mental influence, but also by manipulating phenomena.
Making fiery things happen, staging events that seemed miraculous.
Exactly. Using thought forms to create illusions, reinforcing their message, and appearing powerful, maybe even godlike, to susceptible minds.
So a mix of psychic suggestion and basically special effects. A potent combo for influence. Makes you rethink some ancient stories, doesn't it?
It really does. The questioner then wonders if any recorded prophets from that time or just after actually got their messages from Orion.
Ra clarifies that the Orion group couldn't maintain that obvious physical presence for super long. They had to withdraw from the skies after maybe 600 years or so, around 3,000 years ago.
Okay, so they weren't constantly visible.
Right. And regarding prophets, Ra suggests it was often a mixed bag. Many received conflicting information. The worst the Orion group could usually manage was to inject messages of doom or judgment into otherwise positive prophecies.
Because prophecy itself, Ra says, usually comes from those genuinely wanting to serve others, serve the Creator.
Yeah. So Orion couldn't easily co-opt the whole process, but they could try to poison the well, so to speak. Add fear and negativity. Highlights for you how even good channels can pick up interference.
Then another cough from Ra. Pause.
And the questioner just wants to confirm.
Yeah.
So Orion did successfully pollute or taint some positive prophets with doom and gloom messages.
Ra confirms this is correct, and then adds that the next question will be the last full one for the session, again mindful of Carla's energy levels.
Okay, the last main question. Why did Orion have to leave the skies after roughly 600 years?
Ra's explanation here is fascinating. It's about the long-term effects on the people they influenced.
Oh, how so?
Remember Orion targeted groups they saw as elite? Well, Ra says these groups eventually went through a diaspora, they were scattered,
Okay.
and this experience actually made them humbler, more honorable, less warlike, more aware of the Creator's love.
Wow, so the negative influence kind of backfired in the long run.
Almost like a karmic boomerang, yeah. The very people groomed for elitism and power ended up becoming underdogs.
And that fostered different qualities. Gratitude, maybe? Healing the very elitism Orion had cultivated.
Exactly. Ra says it healed the distortions of power that led to the bellicosity in the first place. It shows you maybe the universe's tendency towards balance.
That even attempts at manipulation can ultimately lead to unexpected positive growth for those targeted. A powerful insight for you about resilience and the eventual triumph of, well, positive polarity.
Indeed. Okay, so that was the last main question. But the questioner slips in one more, described as less important but interesting.
Ah, the Eisenhower question. Pause for Roscoe.
Right. Did President Eisenhower meet with either the Confederation or the Orion Group back in the 1950s?
And Ra confirms, yes, he met with Liang's, but they were Confederation thought forms, made indistinguishable from physical beings.
A test.
Exactly. The Confederation wanted to see how a positively oriented leader, someone not hugely distorted by power, would react to peaceful contact, to information about other beings and philosophies.
A way to gauge Earth's readiness, maybe, through a key individual. And what was Eisenhower's reaction, according to Ra?
He felt his people weren't ready, that the concepts were too much for the public consciousness at that time.
Which tells you something about the perceived gap between, say, potential reality and public acceptance back then.
Yeah. So an agreement was apparently reached. Eisenhower would continue his path, and the Confederation would stick to a quieter, gradual approach of alerting humanity.
Though Ra adds that events since then have kind of overtaken that slow burn plan.
Yeah.
Interesting footnote. And another cough from Ra.
Pause. Then the questioner pushes a little more, asking the classic follow-up.
Crash ships, alien bodies in freezers, that whole thing.
And Ra draws a line there, declines to answer.
Right.
They state it would infringe on free will regarding the future and potentially give too much info that could be mishandled, given the mindset within military and intelligence circles.
A very cautious stance, respecting our choices and the potential dangers of revealing too much too soon.
Precisely. It underlines that responsibility aspect again.
The questioner then apologizes for asking those kinds of questions. Pause for Ra's cough.
Understandable, given Ra's response. And he reaffirms his plan to focus back on the deeper philosophy of the Law of One next time.
Right. Expresses gratitude, and as the session wraps up, asks if there's anything more they can do for Carla's comfort. Shows that consistent care.
And Ra acknowledges their conscientiousness, gives a small piece of practical advice about posture if she's elevated, just showing that reciprocal care.
And then the closing words from Ra. Really beautiful.
Sure. All is well. It is our joy to speak with you. We leave in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator, Adonai.
A perfect encapsulation of the Law of One's essence. Love, light, unity, joy, and service.
A really fitting end to a session packed with, well, some pretty intense historical and philosophical information for you to process.
Definitely. When you step back and look at session 24 as a whole, a few big themes really jump out for you, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. The difficulty of contact, for one. How hard it is to share knowledge across densities or cultures without it getting distorted.
Yeah, the Atlantis example is brutal proof of that. And then there's this constant dance, this interplay between positive and negative influences trying to sway humanity.
The Confederation trying to help, learning from mistakes, becoming cautious, then Orion finding openings, exploiting weaknesses. It's a complex dynamic.
And that idea of the calling is huge. That our collective thoughts, desires, our overall vibration actually influences what kind of interactions or information can even reach us. Puts a lot of responsibility back on you, on us.
It does. And while the details like, Yahweh's interventions or the fiery Orion emissary or the Eisenhower test are fascinating.
They really serve to illustrate these bigger principles for you, right? About influence, free will, discernment, readiness.
Exactly. And the need to look beyond surface appearances, to question motivations. Even Ra declining to answer the crash ship question tells you something important about timing and responsibility.
But underneath all the history, the interventions, the conflicts, the core message is still there, isn't it?
Always. The law of one. Unity, love, light. That's the foundation Ra keeps returning to, even when discussing these complex, sometimes dark historical events. It's the ultimate reality they point towards.
So maybe a final thought for you to mull over after this deep dive into session 24. Given this interplay of influences Ra describes, how do you practice discernment in your own life? How do you strengthen your own connection to that positive calling of love and light amidst all the noise and potential distortions in the world around you?
That's the real work, isn't it? Applying these big cosmic ideas to your own path, your own choices. Something to definitely reflect on.
It is. Well, that brings us to the end of this exploration.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through session 24. Until our next deep dive, go forth in that love and light. Namaste.